Good afternoon. Today is the 30th of January and I'd like to spend this log today talking about British Leyland's worst ever product placement deal, which was in the TV series The New Avengers and The Professionals. So for those of you unfamiliar with The New Avengers, it was a continuation of the very successful Avengers TV series made by a company called Associated British Corporation, or ABC Television, and ran on the ITV network from 1961 to 69. It starred Patrick Macnee and most famously Diana Rigg, although there were other people who also starred among Macnee, like Linda Thorson, Honor Blackman and Ian Hendry. In 1976, a French television director contacted Patrick Macnee and the others who'd been involved in the Avengers and asked why the show hadn't been on the air for some years, and they decided to make a continuation series starring Patrick Macnee, Joanna Lumley and Gareth Hunt, and it was a co-production between France, United Kingdom and Canada. In the original Avengers series, Patrick Macnee most famously drove a 3-litre Bentley, although there were at least 4 models used for that, and Diana Rigg drove a Lotus Elan. But by the 70s, they were looking for a major sponsor to provide them with cars, and so they came across that wonderful, wonderful guarantee of quality and craftsmanship, British Leyland. British Leyland supplied several cars for the stars, such as 2 Range Rovers, a Jaguar XJ6 for Gareth Hunt, a Jaguar XJ12C coupe, but had been modified for circuit racing for Patrick Macnee, a Rover 3500, also known as an SD1, also to Patrick Macnee, a yellow Triumph TR7 for Joanna Lumley, and also a yellow MGB for Joanna Lumley. The story goes that the cars were very unreliable, kept breaking down, and even one of them that Brian Clemens, who was the producer on the series and also worked on the Avengers, borrowed once, had a gear knob that was fitted where the reverse was in the absolute opposite direction from where it actually was in the car. So he spent half an hour in a car park trying to get the car into reverse, and he couldn't because somebody at the factory had put the gear knob on the wrong way, which is wonderful. So you would have thought that after the end of filming on the New Avengers, that they would look for a new supplier to provide vehicles to professionals. The company that made New Avengers was called the Avengers Film and Television Enterprises, who sold the series to London Weekend Television. And they decided to form a separate company that was still associated with that one, called Mark I Productions, and make a new series which starred Gordon Jackson, Lewis Collins and Martin Shaw, which was called The Professionals, and that went into production about the same time as the final episode of New Avengers in 1977. Now, at this time, Ford had been very successful with making the Sweeney. They'd got that really famous console, the Console 3000 GT in bronze, NHK 295M, featured as the main car on the Sweeney, and other Granadas and Cortinas featured in that too. So Ford were way ahead of the time in terms of getting their products on the screen, and they later were very successful with Cat's Eyes, Dempsey and Makepeace, and lots of other shows as well. They really knew how to market their cars well. British Leyland sadly did not. A lot of you will know that later on in the production of Professionals, Ford did have a deal with Mark I Productions, but for the early part of the first series of Professionals, they still used British Leyland products, and really I have no idea why. The car that they gave to Martin Shaw to drive first was a brown Rover 2000, also known as a P6, which appeared in 2 episodes, and by the time that it was filmed in 1977. The car was 7 years old, and I really have no idea why this was chosen. I think it was just maybe that they hadn't got their act together and they hadn't got into anything, so they had to find something really quickly. That's the type of car that's used in the thumbnail for this video, by the way. It's also Rover 2000, although it's not the same one. So that was the car initially that Martin Shaw drove in The Professionals. By the sort of second month of production, they'd kind of got right together a bit more, and they supplied Lewis Collins with a white Triumph Dolomite Sprint and Martin Shaw with a blue Triumph TR7, and those are in various episodes of the first sort of 2/3 of the first series of Professionals. The TR7 is not so good for Martin Shaw. It doesn't really suit his character very well. It was better for someone like Joanna Lumley in the New Avengers, and that's a different car. That was the yellow one, this is the blue one. But the white Dolomite Sprint was probably my second favourite car in the series, behind the iconic Ford Capris that were used from the sort of latter half of the first series right the way through to the end. The Dolomite Sprint was the first ever production car to have a 16-valve cylinder head, all-alloy engine, 0 to 60 in 8.7 seconds, which for 1973, when it was launched, was amazing. The car suited Lewis Collins really, really well, and it's a shame that because the British Leyland was so bad at getting their cars delivered, they were so unreliable, that halfway through the production of the first series of Professionals, they switched their car supplier to Ford, and really the rest is history. So I hope you enjoyed that little nostalgic look at a couple of my favourite television series from the 70s. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you like what you have seen today. Don't forget to give it a like. My Facebook page is facebook.com/Lloyd Vehicle Consulting. My website is www.lloydvehicleconsulting.co.uk. And I'd love to source a car for any of you who would be interested in my help. It doesn't have to be any of the cars I've mentioned in the video. And thank you very much indeed for watching.